Hello, my name is Breandán de Gallaí. So I believe there's this tacit anticipation when people think of Irish dance. They probably think of either Colleen's at the crossroads with freckles, or competition culture with its migraine-inducing dresses, fake tan and sock glue, or perhaps the spectacle shows like Riverdance and those imitators. But to be honest with you, although those are aspects of my life, they don't define me. And although you could argue that I come from a community northwest of Donegal, Gweedore, which, Dance at the Crossroads would have happened, or I did the competition culture thing, although what I wore was probably less assaultive to the senses. And I was principal dancer with Riverdance for 7 years. Me and my fellow professional dancers felt that there was something more present in the dance form than perhaps those who are uninitiated to the form believed that was there. So as I returned from my touring life in Riverdance to find a space to behave as a dance artist, I was faced with many challenges. First of all, there was the negativity towards the form. People didn't like the competition culture because of its pageant-like elements to it. And there was definitely this Riverdance fatigue. But I wasn't coming back to function in either of those spaces. I was coming back as a contemporary Irish dance choreographer with questions about my own practice. And I wanted to explore it, and the obvious place would be the contemporary arts platform. But that wasn't necessarily available to me, and I found myself searching for, I suppose, a way to function in this world, and that led me to the University of Limerick, where I just completed a PhD in performance, a performance-based PhD. And I found that my focus as a dance artist was moving from this emphasis we have in traditional Irish dance on virtuosity, feats of mastery, legs going like the clappers, and this pulsating rhythm that connects with the observer and even with us as dancers, but to something much more visceral, something that was much deeper. And as part of my reflection, I had to do an awful lot of autobiographical writing to find out where was this coming from, because there's nothing wrong with the form as it is. I mean, I still enjoy it as it is, but it didn't reflect what I wanted to do now, because things had changed. I didn't place the same emphasis on those things anymore. And besides, my body was getting older, and it didn't do those things as well as it used to. And as I kind of reflected on the different elements that perhaps affected what this new physicality that I was creating, this reimagining of the form, I discovered that incidences in my childhood, such as being brought to the National Irish Ballet when they came to our tiny theatre in Gweedore, and that bewitched me, or watching those musicals on RTE on Saturday afternoon and Sunday afternoons with Gene Kelly and Fred Astaire, but also Alan Parker's film Fame, and that gritty world of show business. And the ass-kicking was a regular occurrence, and you had to pay in sweat. And that resonated with me because there was something inside of me that I wanted to explore my dancing body. It may have been an Irish dancing body, but it was much more than that. And that did lead me before coming here to DCU. After my Leaving Cert, I did a year in Chicago on scholarship, and I did many forms, but the two that resonated with me were classical ballet and modern dance. And in one stage in a modern dance class, I was moving across the floor, and I felt like my feet weren't touching the ground. I was airborne the whole time. So although I was still probably a muck savage of an Irish dancer trying to do Martha Graham technique across this studio in Chicago, I felt that something special was happening there, and I wanted to harness it. And I found out through my own research that a theorist called, and I'm not even going to get his name right, Csikszentmihalyi, a Hungarian theorist, he talks about flow. And this is this moment that many people experience, whether you're a surgeon or a programmer or a dancer or a musician, where you're absolutely happy and time doesn't matter, and you're absolutely 100% focused on the task at hand. You don't care what went before or what went after. And that's what was going on there, and I wanted to recreate it so that I could create the material to create the choreography. And that was one of the big challenges, to create that in the studio by myself. And I did everything I could, blacking out the windows so nobody would be prying on my attempts, and I would also try to exhaust the body so that critic, that inner critic, those chattering monkeys in my head, would allow me to express my own dancing identity. But the second challenge was to create this in such a way that I could place the work on other dancers, on the ensemble of dancers. And the way I kind of went about that initially was to create a show called Knockdu, which is the Irish word to bear all or to reveal all. And we poked fun in a piece into ourselves as dancers, parodied ourselves. as a way of kind of them identifying with my own journey as a dancer, and then using that as an opportunity to say, how about we did it this way? How about we change the physicality slightly? And because there are dimensions of chance in everything, RTE made a television program about it. We were invited to perform in New York for 5 weeks, and it was nominated for 2 Drama Desk Awards. These are flukes, but that meant I was able to really go about the ultimate project, which was for me to do a contemporary Irish dance ballet. And the one I wanted to do was Stravinsky's Rite of Spring, and this is the centenary this year. A seminal work that the traditionalists would never imagine being an Irish dance piece. But what I found when I was in the studio and all those events had happened, I had a group of dancers who believed in it. And there was this frisson in the room as we created the work. And I mean, besides for me, I was seeing my autobiographical and emotional life being displayed through these dancers, because that's what had surfaced in my choreographic improvisations. But also, things changed for them. They found themselves altering within the room, and they spoke to me about how the lines between this brutal world of the Rite of Spring and the lines of real life were blurring. And as principal dancer Nick O'Connell said after the event, it left a mark, it left a stamp on my soul. So for me to kind of make sense of tradition and evolving tradition and innovation, I have to go back now because I'm a DCU, and I'm sure Professor McGrath will be cringing when I go back to my physics of 25 years ago when I began here. And I want to use Schrödinger as an example, and I won't get into the detail of Schrödinger and his cat in a box, but Schrödinger spoke about this thought experiment with a cat in a box and some radioactive event that could or may not have happened. But there's a point where where we don't know if the cat is alive or dead, and what is created is 2 universes. And it's a great metaphor to think that until you open that box, there are 2 universes, one where the cat exists and one where the cat is dead. And I kind of view the aesthetic world around us as that. So people will claim that traditions are unchanging, or that we're on some aesthetic evolutionary path to perfection. But the reality is we kind of like create these moments, and then we have choices, infinite choices. And when we make a choice, all the other ones collapse. And for me, it was an opportunity to ignore or reject this sense that things don't evolve, and to allow maybe some of those poor cats that didn't quite make it to have a chance to persist. Thank you very much.